Hello everyone, welcome to next session. In this session, we will understand what is the role of resources and what all directories we need to have in the resources to make the Wiremock standalone work. Right. So the resources directory is like any other application. You use the resources. There might be an XML file or many other files which you access within the project. So here also Wiremock uses two resource directories. That is, one is the files and one is the mappings. So these both directories we have discussed when we started the server using the standalone jar, runnable jar. But the difference here is when you will create this project, or whenever you will start this server, which we have done in our previous session, by default it will not create any directory. But when we did that using the Wiremock standalone jar, the Wiremock standalone jar automatically created it. So let's do one thing. So currently I am not having any resources directory here. Let's start the server. Let's see if the directories are created or not. So now the server is started and it has stopped also. So let me do one thing to make sure we are. Let me reload this from the disk. So as you can see, there are no directories created for this Wiremock directories, that is files or mapping. So that means you need to do it manually, right? So by default, Wiremock uses this directory src test resources. So within this directory you will have two directories, files and mappings. Right. So we will have two directories like this, which Wiremock searches for the getting the files and the mappings also. So the files have the request response file if you are using any, right? Request and response files, JSON files. Can be JSON, can be XML, depends on which API you are mocking. So file. The next thing we have is the mappings. So mappings, so one more thing, most important thing to note here is whenever you will start the server or whenever you will create the stubs, when we will be doing in our upcoming session, all the mappings are stored in the memory itself. Those are not created, though no files are created, nothing is done unless and until you explicitly ask Wiremock to do that. So there's a feature to do that. We will discuss that as well, right? Even if you do it in the Wiremock standalone also, the mappings are not stored. So those are not persistent, I would say, right? So once you stop the server, they are flushed from the memory, right? So that's how it works. So let's do one thing. So we'll create this in the we'll create the directory with source maven resources. Simply do these two directories, files and mappings. So only these two directories are required. So it's not like if you don't if you want create the resource directory, it will not work. It will work, but if you're trying to use any JSON request response files, you are matching the incoming request or anything, then these are required, right? And one more thing to note here is you can change this directory also. So suppose, so now we are working with our main directory here. We are not using the test directory, but by default the Wiremock uses test resources directory to look for the resources. So you can change that. You can create the directory here, resources directory here, and within that you can create the same directory, but you need to provide the within the code you need to ask Wiremock, you need to provide the instruction to use this resources directory instead of the default one, right? We will understand that in our options sessions where we will discuss the what all options you can pass to the Wiremock server. Let's move to our next session.